What's up, everybody? Today on Universal Theory, we're going to be talking in depth with you about why science and metaphysics should be combined. It's not something we're making up. We're going to literally get into the nitty-gritty as to why these two concepts are one concept. Just real quick, as a shout out, I would like to give a shout out to everybody in the comment section who's been down there interacting with us. We greatly appreciate it. I love opening the app and seeing a list of comments from whoever's down there interacting, multiple comments on the same video. It just really warms my heart to see that kind of interaction. And then I'll ask, okay, recommend something like the structured water. And we got recommendations from Katya, and just seeing that really is greatly appreciated. So please continue to do that. Continue to like the videos. And if you haven't been checking out the shorts, check them out. We've been editing the heck out of those, and they are amazing. You don't get notifications, sadly, for the shorts, but I'm sure they'll show up in your shorts feed. So just go to our channel and check out our shorts. They're all pretty classics, at least the edited ones. But the topic at hand. So we talked a bit in the last video about why science and philosophy are, because we were talking about gender, and we talked about how gender are two sides to the same pole. Two sides to the same pole, masculine and feminine are connected, and we see that through magnetism. And I talked a bit about building a bridge and how it's alien, but I did it a little rushed, so let me kind of get into that just a little bit. And essentially what's happening is we can understand ourselves, and we can understand through communications. But when we look at the world around us, what we have are our senses. Right? That's all we have to navigate this world. And even the instruments that we use are an extension of one of our senses. If you can think of one that isn't, put it in the comment down below, and I will probably show you how it is. But if you can think of one that isn't, maybe I can't. I just can't personally think of one. Anyways. So yeah, all we have is the extension of our senses. So then we come across these ideas that we're not familiar with. They are alien to us. And in order for us to begin to understand what's happening within our interface, so that's what this is when we say interface, all interface means is our senses, the world around us through our senses. So we're trying to understand these ideas through our interface. And we come across something like, we start to understand these fields in electromagnetism. We did that back in the 1800s, right? That's not something new. Well, what does that mean to us? It's foreign to us. It's just something that's happening around us. It's just something we can perceive. We need to build a bridge from our intellectual understanding to the process itself in order to assimilate it. Because once we assimilate that data, now we can update. Now we can upgrade. So it's to that information, we're alien. And I don't mean extraterrestrial. Extraterrestrial, which means outside of terrestrial, which means Earth or terrestria. So that's not what I mean, because it's happening here on Earth. I just mean foreign, right? It's foreign to us. So we're building this bridge to kind of untap that knowledge that is foreign to us, and to assimilate it into our body, to kind of, you can think of, if you think about it as an application, right? It's like updating. You're like updating yourself when you understand this information.
Yes.
And it's not just science. It's the ancients were doing it with science and metaphysics. They were doing it with philosophy. It's any kind of logic or anything that exists outside of you, any kind of structures that exist outside of the mind. We can debate what that means, but what I mean is physically us going out and touching it, us going out and perceiving it, us diving into it with our minds and perceiving it. How do we build a pathway back to our brain?
Yes. How do we take the objective reality and subject it to our perceptions and conceptualize it by circumscribing it?
Yes.
So you can we can look at, the ever expanding universe, and we can theorize about the multiverse, and we can think about the logic of there being a substantial background, where if something's expanding, what is it expanding in? Is that thing expanding? And eventually we're going to logically come to a conclusion that says, oh, there's this infinite background. And it's like, well, how do we conceptualize infinity?
Right.
And you have to circumscribe it because that's how you expand your comprehension of it. So you take the objective and you make it subjective because we are the subjective. We are the objective in a subjective form. We talked about this. We are the being in a state of becoming, and we are limited computationally at every given point, and that's relative to the interface. Like you said, it's our sensorial mechanisms, it's our biology, which is relative to what universe are you in and the
Right.
physics of that universe. The principles, are an absolute within the relative, and they may apply to every universe. Every universe is mental, but in this particular mental manifestation of the universe, what are the laws of physics?
Right.
And then how does that shape and form the things that coagulate within that universe, such as galaxies? Or, we can go higher, dark energy and dark matter, and then galaxies, and then solar systems within those galaxies, and then planets within those solar systems, and then organisms on those planets. They have specifically tailored biological mechanisms that are suited to subject the objective to their perception so that they can navigate the universe. And that's what science and philosophy is this blueprint within that it's our personal blueprint within the algorithm that allows for us to conceptualize these things and to circumscribe them so that we can have a comprehension of the objective and navigate it no matter how subjective it is for us.
Yeah.
So without those things, without the pairing of these things, we lack half of the equation.
Yeah, exactly. Because if I was to say to anybody, probably even today, but before relativity, if I was to say, hey, this cosmic background radiation that Maxwell's talking about back in the 1800s, these photons, that's the same photon. To it, the Big Bang just happened. To it, the Big Bang just happened. You'd say you're a nut, or you're a metaphysician. You don't know what you're talking about. But that is reality now. So the problem with that statement is people will try to use that to validate their own insanity. That's not what we're trying to do. There has to be research. Yeah. There has to be more to it than just, this is what I think. Look what happened here. I think that there is some sort of, I don't know, I don't want to say anything crazy and offend anybody, but I think there's example A, and because something that has nothing to do with it has happened. That's not what we do. So we build our way up to it. But it doesn't change the fact that right now, anybody that's in second or third year physics in undergrad is going to say, yep, that cosmic background radiation, as far as it's concerned, the Big Bang just happened. There is no time, as we talked about with time dilation. So like Jordan, so kind of tying it into what you were saying, we have to be able to understand this information from these 2 points of view because they're not different. Just because there's a bridge between them doesn't mean that every point along that information that it connects, right? So it's not like you can take any concept and apply it, and that's what makes it tough. But science is tough. Science isn't easy because we can't just make stuff up because we have to validate it. Being an adept metaphysician isn't easy because you have to use logic to validate. Being a philosopher isn't easy because you have to be able to validate. And if anything, it's harder because sometimes you'll never get an answer. At least with science, you get an answer. So in that case, science is easier. And now it's saying, okay, well, let's take these two disciplines and merge them. That's a problem. Well, why? Because we have biophysics now. We have biochemistry. We have physical chemistry. We have all these other disciplines that are merging together. Why is it all of a sudden it's just an issue when it comes to religion or philosophy and science? I think because of the dichotomous relationship that they have, but
yes,
I'll never know because my brain just understands the two as one.
Yes. Yeah, and I like to think of it like, abstract and concrete, creative, or, one is, they're both logical, but they have different types of logic. So you have one where it creates, and then the other one where it uses what was created, and it does a micro form of creation. So it'd be like equivalent to, this guy, hypothetically, he's metaphysics. He invents the wheel. You know what I mean?
Mm-hmm.
Like in his mind. He's
Right.
like, oh, the will, the idea, a circle, and he draws it, and then he has someone who actually practically makes the will, and then the guy who physically makes the will, he doesn't get it right his first time.
Right.
He has to keep refining it and refining it and refining it, and then someone else comes along and has a great idea about how to refine it as an idea, and then the other guy that makes the will says, I can see what you're saying, let me try to practically work it out. And then he figures out the math behind it, and he makes a more, perfected will. So it's like theoretical, I've said this before, theoretical physicists, theoretical scientists do this.
Yeah, they are philosophers.
They are philosophers. They're just philosophers who know science. So why would you want to be a philosopher and not know science? Why would you want to be a scientist and not know philosophy? And it's not like you can't actually have both at once. We always do. It's just that we might use one tool more so than the other, because it's not like you have one hemisphere, or you don't have ideas, but some people might say, well, I don't want to use my own ideas. I'm not really good at thinking about things abstractly, but I'm good at practically making things working other people's ideas out. It's like, that's fine.
It's perfect.
But eventually what's going to happen is, because those things were one and divided and are diverged, and now they're converging again. So now you're going to have people, and there's people being born right now. You got 6-7-year-old kids that are like, okay, I'm ready to go to college, mom.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? And they're coming up with new theories about the universe. So it's like, it's not like this stuff is not on track with the natural evolution of our species and how things are naturally developing and coming into fruition. This is going to happen whether you want it to happen or not. If you want to be stuck in the past and you're like, I'm into metaphysics, I don't do science, I don't mess with scientists, I don't mess with physics, or I'm gonna pick pieces of physics and I'm gonna say a bunch of words that sound fancy, but I'm not gonna actually do any research and properly apply them to metaphysics. And if physicist is like, I'm gonna not take any of these ideas, and I'm gonna basically say everything you're saying, but I'm gonna deny that there's any validity over here or whatever. At the end of the day, both of you guys are gonna fail miserably, because there's some 10-year-old right now that we don't even know about that's building on all these ideas, and he's accumulating all these great ideas, and he's doing the math, and he's doing the science, and he's doing the research, and he's becoming a superhuman.
Yeah.
And you could be a superhuman, and you have the necessary tools to do it. You don't have to go into a laboratory and be genetically modified. You are the mutant.
Yeah.
Naturally.
Yeah, bringing these two ideologies together allows the scientific mind to flourish and allows the metaphysical mind to flourish, because you are counterbalancing it with the other hemisphere. And I get this comment about, well, as soon as you introduce God to the equation, you screwed up. This is where you're making your mistake. And that's coming from the scientific community.
Yes.
And to me, well, your God is the scientific method. You're not calling it your God, but you swear by it. Your God is this equipment. Your God is this process. I'm just letting you remember those are your idols. So everybody has their own idols, and metaphysicians have theirs as well. The right brain, the creativity. I don't want to get there linearly. Let me look at the non-linear path. Well, that's your idols. That's what you're worshiping. What we need to do is to homogenize these two ideas, and to stop thinking that one side is doing what the other side isn't, because we're both doing the same thing. They're both accusing the other side of exactly what they do.
Yes.
So to the individuals who say that you failed as soon as you brought God into the equation, maybe God isn't the right word. So that's fine. I will gladly say, okay, we don't have to use that word if that makes you feel uncomfortable. It doesn't make me feel uncomfortable because of my understanding of what I believe God is. But that's fine. We can call it a process. We can call it energy. We can call it whatever you want, as long as the essence of what we're calling it is the same thing.